Welcome to the Say Hey podcast, a San Francisco Giants podcast for the casual fan. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Say Hey Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Say Hey Doug. Follow Rob on Twitter at Say Hey Rob. Make sure you're subscribed and following us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and also subscribe on YouTube so you get notified when a new episode of the Say Hey podcast is released. Robbie, it's trade day. It's trade deadline Monday in this weird ass year.
1 month in.
How you doing today, man?
Great, man. I really was hoping we'd have more to kind of run through today. I went to work early, like I was just telling you, off the air. Got a lot of shit done early today, thinking we were gonna have a lot to talk about, and yeah, you know what? It just didn't quite pan out that way. But Giants are a team in flux. They don't really know what they are right now, so I guess we shouldn't be too surprised about anything.
Yeah, and with that, thanks for joining us on the same podcast. No,
that's all we got.
But for real, it's like, no, because this episode we're going to do, I'm hoping it goes literally like a half hour. Last couple have gone kind of long. So just wanted to touch on the trade deadline regarding the Giants and regarding, some interesting other moves from other teams. So just real quick, sum up, Robbie. The Giants made one minuscule move, obviously at the buzzer, and we'll talk about it specifically in a minute. But didn't buy, didn't sell, did more of nothing. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, like I was just saying, it was really hard to get a grasp of what they wanted to do, and looking at the overall, landscape of the league today with all the trades, nothing big, really went down aside from all the stuff that Padres and Blue Jays were doing. But I think it's a good indicator now that they're going to re-sign Kevin Gausman. I mean, that's a pretty solid indicator. I thought they were going to ship him for sure after the other day when he said, "Hey, if they trade me, I can see myself re-signing." So I was like, "Oh, dude, you're gone. See you later." But no, that didn't happen. And then I think I had a lot of thoughts on Cueto, because Farhan and those guys, they clearly value him and his club control over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And watching more and more baseball this year, the approach these hitters have, where it's pretty much they're going up there trying to hit the ball 500 feet every at bat. The way Cueto pitches, I mean, it's almost like he's getting more valuable now as the time goes along, because all he does is keep guys off balance, and he's looked so good this year. I mean, he's legit had, he had a no-hit bid going in LA into the 6th inning. He really didn't give up a hit yesterday until the 7th. I mean, whoever the hell it was, I think it was Jake Lamb, had that infield hit in the 2nd inning where Thomas Lano just kind of threw a bad ball to Belt and they ruled it a hit. But yeah, I mean, he has done such a great job keeping guys off balance, and I think that's more valuable now than I think we anticipated coming in. Like, they really want to, keep their hands on him, which is a little surprising. From, like, if it was asking me this a month ago, I say, "Oh, he's gone for sure." But I think, especially, and they're playing decent, so it makes sense.
Well, regarding Cueto specifically too, and we'll get into some more individual guys, but regarding him too, if you haven't watched a lot of his outings this year too, and you look at his numbers, you're like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but he's kind of fallen victim to, once he comes out,
inherited runners.
Yeah, he's fallen victim to inherited runners, and the bullpen up until recently hasn't been very good, and so they come around to score, and you add another run or two to Cueto's line, right. And then also, he'll be rolling right along to the 5th, 6th, 7th, and then they start catching up to him. But like you said, especially in today's game where guys are just trying to hit the ball at the ballpark, a lot of power but a lot of strikeout ratios. His upsetting of timing is huge. And so
yeah, it's been more evident this year.
And Scott Harris have really seen, especially in the last few weeks. Who knows? We're not in there. We're not experts, but that's extremely valuable, like you said. And also, like you said, the club control through the next 2 years. I mean, he's still under contract next year, and then has that
option
in 2022. So, I just wanted to sum up everything. I know the Giants have made 3 trades prior to today, kind of just subtle trades, and then they did make a trade today towards the end, which I'll let Robbie talk about in a minute. But so basically nothing gets done. I'm okay with it. I'm fine. Farhan, I guess, came on KMBR after the deadline, which a lot of general managers do, and say they're happy with their current roster. And now I think he understands. I mean, I'm sure more than anybody, Farhan and Scott Harris understand this team's not going to win a World Series this year. But the positives from not doing anything today: one, you keep your accelerating farm system intact. All your prospects are still here. 2, with the current roster or the current season structure, and 8 NL teams can get in, and I think the Giants are like a half game out from the 8th seed right now.
Right.
There's still a decent chance that they get in.
Yeah.
With what they have, and they can. And so even if you get in with not doing anything this year, it's like, hey, the Giants made a postseason appearance without having to sacrifice any young talent or move any guys going forward. So a lot of people were complaining on Twitter, like, Farhan, wake up, or like, why aren't we doing anything? I've even, people fire Farhan. It's like,
always.
But I'll let you go on after this too. I'm 100% totally fine with having a boring deadline this year.
Yeah. You know what? I think you don't just get guys away just to give guys away, and I think that's what we expected for the last month, was just, oh man, well, with that accelerated trade deadline, they're just going to start shipping off dudes. And, me and you both thought so too, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. We're like, they're going to make their moves. They're going to do what they got to do. They're going to cut some dead weight, but people aren't lining up, to take on big contracts like Cueto's right now. Cause it's in this shortened season, they were just, for everything I heard, the return value just wasn't there for a lot of big names, because you didn't really see any big names or bad contracts get shipped out today. Like, I don't know what Robbie Ray's making right now, but I mean, that dude was like an all-star last year, and Arizona just gave him away to the Blue Jays. Just gave him away. Forget it. So, but outside of that, you didn't really see that today, and you usually see it every year. Just, all right, man. Like last year when the Giants traded Mark Melancon, when they somehow convinced the Braves to take on all his salary, you saw nothing like that today. Nothing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, I just think it's the landscape of the season, of this COVID-19 season. Yeah. And I think you didn't get a lot of big buyers out there, but you didn't get anybody just giving dudes away either.
Yeah, and I've said it early throughout the season. I didn't think we were going to have a big trade deadline this year. One, because it just the uncertainty of the year, and teams can get hot. And 2, like I just previously mentioned, factor in you're going to have 16 teams get a shot at a World Series, even though it sounds fishy, but right. They are. It's going to be a tournament. And so it will cause mediocre teams like the Giants that happen to be in the race right now after, 35, 36 games, that they may be tentative to move some pieces. So I think I was a little surprised by the number of trades. I think the number of trades was about average.
That was up.
Yeah. But big name moves, not really. I would say, and everybody looks at names differently, but if you look around baseball, obviously Mike Clevenger to San Diego is the biggest name being moved.
Yeah.
And then the only other big name one that I could think of was maybe Starling Marte getting shipped to Miami.
Yep.
So obviously the Padres made 4 or 5 trades over the last 48 hours, which was insane.
Yeah, I got them all listed down here. I mean, my whole list is the Padres.
And I'll have you list them off, but the Padres obviously are going for it now. And I tweeted out yesterday, the Padres are coming for that Dodger ass.
They are
And
coming for that ass.
You know what? They can now with that current roster. So why don't you rip off these Padre trays real quick, and then we'll get back to the Giants and sum it up.
Sure. Man, I don't know where to start, but they somehow got the Royals to send him Trevor Rosenthal, and I didn't even know this. I mean, that dude's back to closing. I guess he's right again.
It's been a couple years, but he's having a good season.
Yeah, and they traded Edward Alvarez for him, and he wasn't even really a prospect. He's been on the team all year, and he hasn't looked very good. He's kind of one of those, he's one of those John Jay builds, type of players. But every time I saw him this year, he was struggling to put the bat on the ball. So obviously, the Padres were quick to give up on him and take a flyer on Trevor Rosenthal. I mean, man, good luck with that.
Always good to add
Trevor
bullpen
Rosenthal,
depth.
man.
Always good to add bullpen depth, especially at the end of the bullpen. So
and actually, maybe you know this, is Kirby Yates back yet?
I don't believe so.
Maybe that's what it is then.
But he could. Whenever he does come back, it's great. But yeah, I mean, now you got Rosenthal who can close for you. He can be your hold guy. So they're just adding to their arsenal there at the end of the pen.
But okay, just speed up real quick. Yeah, they sent 2 prospects to the Red Sox who are really struggling this year for Mitch Moreland, who's been tearing the cover off the ball. He's been the one guy over there. Yeah,
they just needed more power.
Yeah, they sent away Ty France, who's been DHing for him all year, and a couple prospects to the Mariners for Austin Nola, who couldn't be more than 25, 26 years old. Every time I've seen him play, he's looked good.
Yeah,
and so he's going to end up being their everyday catcher now.
Yep.
With I think it's Mejia and Austin Hedges. I mean, they were both struggling like crazy this year, and which is too bad because I had some high hopes for Austin Hedges, but whatever.
Did they get another catcher too, Robbie?
They got Jason Castro. I mean, they just did it for like player to be named later. They just started adding up dudes, and they ended up shipping away Austin Hedges in the Clevenger deal. With Cal Quantrill, that surprised me because he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen him. Yeah. So, I mean, give the Indians credit. I guess for in the quantity department, I'm not going to say these are all solid players, but I mean, you get Cal Quantrill, Austin Hedges, Josh Naylor. Those are 3 guys on the Padres active roster as of yesterday. They were all on the active roster. So, I mean, you're getting major league talent and we know the story about Clevenger and acting the fool out there with the COVID-19. So they're probably just thinking, screw it, man. We're running this guy out anyway. So
we'll
take a little quantity, I guess.
And I think too, and I know the Padres have had good minor league depth these last few years.
Oh, yeah.
But and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but they were able to keep like their top dudes. I mean,
I think the highest one they gave away was their number 5 ranked prospect. It was like 5
was Trammell, yeah,
right, 5, 7, 9, and like 11. I think they gave away though.
So yeah, Gore's still there, Abrams, Patino, and did Capusano get moved?
No,
he's their number 4. Okay, so yeah,
he didn't get moved.
They kept their top 4 dudes. I mean, it's hands down winners of this year's trade deadline.
They were going for it. You gotta give them credit.
So.
And none of those minor leaguers, like we talked about a few weeks ago, with the lack of minor league competition this year, they're just thinking, screw it, now's the time. These guys aren't getting better right now. That's probably what they're figuring. These guys aren't getting better at the alternate site camp of America, so they're not doing anything. So they were just like, let's do it now.
Hey, another case, I guess you can call it. The A's have someone and they fail to use the taxi squad again. It amazed me. And now they're not playing till Wednesday. So.
No games. One guy. We don't even know who it is. Really, we don't even know who it is.
We may never know. It's probably Matt Olson. But anyways,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. But let's get back to the Giants. Actually, you have the information of the one move they did make at the end. It's not really a significant move. I looked over the guys' numbers. Anthony, is it Banda or Blanda? And
Banda. Small sample sizes here. So
yeah. So and he's 26. Was with Tampa Bay. has pitched this year. I know he had Tommy John a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't pitch much last year. So
his last outing was very bad, but before that,
okay.
he was actually doing okay. But he got roughed up by the Marlins the other day.
Yeah, that Florida on Florida crime. So
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, and again, I don't know how Farhan keeps pulling this off, but sending cash considerations for him.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth time that guy's been dealt
I don't
in the
know
last
when he
month.
keeps coming back.
Sneaking in, man. Well, I'm sneaking inside of Pablo. I don't know, but
oh God,
I don't know.
Trojan horse.
It's some of that Red Sox money. I don't know.
So yeah. Anyways, he's a reliever. That the
7 innings pitched this year, not much.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if he'll get any time this year, but if so, it's another added arm to the pen. And he is a lefty, correct?
He's a lefty.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, with Tony Watson not getting dealt, that was the one that really surprised me. That was a big one. And also, just today, the freaking Cubs, what do? They go out and acquire 2 lefty arms for the bullpen, Osich and freaking Andrew Chafin.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking at some point they had to have called the Giants about Tony Watson, unless there's something's going on that we don't know about.
Because I don't know. I mean, because this year at his age and with his contract, Tony Watson was a perfect trade candidate for this season.
Mm-hmm.
And he's having a great year. And who knows if he'll ever have as good of the year again like he is. His ERA is under 1. He's pitched in 13 games.
Yeah, and it's nothing against those guys, but those guys couldn't carry Tony Watson's jock together. And yeah, so okay, maybe there was no dialogue exchanged, there. I don't know, but I would kind of like to know, for the Cubs in particular. I would like for somebody to tell me if they called the Giants at some point, or the Giants called them about Watson.
Well, and let's combine this together, because you did bring up Kevin Gausman earlier, and I want to talk about him too. But you would think, and we have discussed it on here before, maybe not so much Watson, but Gausman is a guy that you want to get something for him. And so regarding Watson, though, back to Watson, he's 35. He is a free agent after the season. Maybe he's in their plans that, because, with relievers, you can kind of have a longer career. Maybe they plan on signing him for a 2-year deal or something, but obviously that's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
But in regards to Gausman, see, now on our State of the Union, what was that, 2 weeks ago, I stated I think that the Giants should try and keep him. Mm-hmm. And so obviously he didn't get moved today, which means there's got to be no way that they just let him walk next year. And I don't know specifically what his qualifying offer will be. But I said, somewhere in the woods of 3 years, $45 million with maybe a team option for a 4th year.
Yep.
And again, he's kind of like a Cueto thing. The bullpen's kind of influxed his numbers a little bit too, because he's looked really good. He's healthy. His ERA or his velocities in the high 90s. He's mixed pitches really well. So it could be a thing where Kevin Gausman is a part of this future rotation for the next few years. And he's only 29. So, I mean, he's in his prime now. And I don't know let me get your thoughts on Kevin Gausman sticking around.
Yeah, I keep thinking that maybe when Smiley comes back, since the Giants don't really have a closer, they might experiment with that a little bit, since he closed in Atlanta last year. So I'm with you. I do believe that in some way or another, he is in the Giants' future plans, or else they would have traded him today, because there was a market for him. We were reading about it the past week.
The Yankees called on him.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, it wasn't a good enough deal.
Sure. I mean, there's plenty of teams I felt like who could have got him. I mean, with an expiring contract, it wouldn't have taken much. So
no.
So that leads me to believe that the Giants value him a lot more than that they're letting on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you nailed that a few weeks back. I think he's going to be around for a while. I mean, there's nothing that would make me think differently now.
Yeah, I mean, are there any? See, now I feel like I've kind of been the Lone Ranger on the Giants should have moved Solano, and it maybe should have happened a couple weeks ago. He's kind of cooled off. Still okay, but I just don't see him ever playing better than he has right now. Also, same thing with like guy like Wilmer Flores. I sum up this deadline as this is what we're going to have going forward, and Farhan's going to continue to trust in drafting well, but also like if we have contracts coming off the books, like Samardzij's gone after this year, and Crawford and Bell will be gone after next year, and same thing with Longoria. That they can bring in arms like we've been saying via free agency. So there's still a ton of flexibility there.
There is, but yeah, with all the 1 year deals that they have, and like with Solano and Flores, yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't get moved today. But then again, maybe the market was just really small, and people are thinking, well, we got hitters, it's not a big deal. There were so many pitchers that got moved, like low end pitchers, like the Robbie Rays, Caleb Smith, and people.
And I was really infatuated with the Ross Stripling, the Dodgers getting rid of him.
Right, yeah, and I mean, he went from being an all-star 2 years ago to falling out of the rotation. The Dodgers that rotation is incredible. We all know it. Know it.
Yeah.
So I mean, but yeah, he gets traded for 2 player to be named laters, an all-star 2 years ago. So
and he's still what? He's in his mid-20s, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not pushing, death or anything. So he's going to be around a while. I as long as he stays healthy. But yeah, it was just a lot of kind of mid-tier, low end pitchers, just a lot of little moves. Like with Andrew Chafin and Osich getting traded and Tony Watson doesn't. What the fuck? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So this is a crazy day.
Yeah, now that I think about it, maybe the not moving Watson was a little weird. But you did bring up the closing situation, and Sam Coonrod's been, he got the save yesterday, and he's looked good at the end of games right now. His last 2 games he's been good. So
he's looked great, and it but in the short sample size, but so did Trevor Gott earlier in the year too. So
yeah, I hope we didn't just
I mean, but every week, they were trying Harlan Garcia last week, and now this week or 2 weeks ago, now last week Sam Coonrod got a few shots, and yeah, I keep thinking when we talk about Smiley and if they really, really just have to pitch Jeff Samardzija again, maybe they give Gausman a little run as the closer. I don't know.
I see and we've touched about this too. I don't see the need to put Samardzija back out there. I mean, if they're going to be there, if the Giants go down 7-0 in the 3rd inning, bring him in, let him eat up some relief long innings. And then, who knows if they're late in the season and Coonrod falls out, and obviously Gott's gotten his chance, and they're still not putting Watson in the 9th inning. Could you see a Jeff Samardzija in the 9th inning to close games out for the Giants to clinch a postseason?
At this point, yeah.
Seriously,
at this point, yeah. Like they clearly don't know what they want to do. So yeah, I'm. That's why I keep throwing guys like, Gausman on the table, and that's just because he did it last year on a team that made the playoffs. So I don't know what their plan is, man. They are a really confusing bunch right now when it comes to that bullpen.
Well, I got to think the rotation moving forward. If Smiley comes back, it's Cueto, Smiley, Gausman, Webb, and I think. Well, now you have. I don't think Cahill's going to miss much time. He went out Saturday with a hip injury, but then you got to debate: do we stick with a hot Trevor Cahill, or do we go? We keep Tyler Anderson in the rotation, who's been really good this year, except his last outing he got roughed up a little bit. But like you said, off air, facing the D-backs,
second time in a week.
It's not uncommon for guys to have a great outing and then a really bad one. So who knows? They have options, which is good, which we didn't think they did.
And you just think that there's no way they signed Drew Smiley for no reason, so he's going to get a little run.
Yeah, and he looked really good until he injured his finger. So I guess he's close to coming back. So I definitely say, okay, I'll sum it up with this. I'm happy that nothing really went down. I'm fine with it. And hashtag in Farhan we trust. I do think the current roster that they have is good enough to get in. I'm not saying they make any noise, but most important, they kept their farm system intact, moving forward, and they didn't make any unnecessary moves. Obviously, they didn't make any moves. So who knows? We'll see.
I'd like some clarity on Tony Watson, but other than that, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Giants off today. It is Monday, August 31st. Can you believe it's September already, dude? That's crazy.
No, I can't.
And if this year wants to hurry up with how things are going, that's totally fine.
It's cool with me, man. We can get rolling here. Jeez,
but
Louise.
So off today, they're at Coors for the next two, and the Rockies were a little active. They got Kevin Pillar.
Wicked Fi.
And then, did they make any other? I thought they got a reliever. I can't.
You know what? Let me. I might have put this down in my little note thing here.
While you're looking that up, I'll talk. But yeah, it was an interesting deadline. So the Giants in Colorado for the next two. Obviously a lot of runs could be scored there. They got Michael Givens from the Orioles. Forgot about that.
From the O's, yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually he's been really, really good this year. So Colorado adding some bullpen depth. So who knows? I think they're right at 500, right? Like 17 and 17. So they're still in the thick of things for sure.
They are, and I totally get the Pillar move. David Dahl, who started off really good this year.
Yeah,
we talked about him early on. Mm-hmm. How there's no way he could make that last. Well, it didn't last because he got hurt.
Yeah,
but and then Garrett Hampson, who's one of their younger, guys who they have a lot of high hopes for. Actually, I saw him play in Stockton a few times. Very fast, got plus power, but like a lot of the league right now, he's struggling to put the ball in play, and he's got a lot of speed. So I think all that frustration led to the Pillar move, and Pillar knows the division from last year. So in the short-term rental type scheme of things, I think that's a smart move for them. So
Pillar's got he's plus in the outfield. He can track the ball well. He can go anywhere. He can play all three outfield positions. He's got a decent arm, and especially in that ballpark, he could pop out a few bombs. So,
sure.
I think that's a good move for the Rockies. So, 2 in Colorado before they come back home. They have another day off Thursday, so all arms on deck for the 2 at Coors. And as long as they stay in this, it's a big series now, especially for both teams. So we'll see. Just split. Just go split in Colorado.
Just split, and hopefully you don't have to use every arm you have for 2 days, and so
yeah.
But like you said, all arms on deck. You're right.
Yeah, off today, off Thursday. Everybody should be available if needed. Right. So, anything to sum up the trade deadline for the Giants, for Major League Baseball, or are we ready to wrap it up?
No, you know what? I think we got our answer about how teams are approaching the season today. Yeah. And people, like we said, outside of the Padres, I think you had a lot of gun-shy teams today, just not willing to, gut out the entire farm to win now, except for one team. So, and we kind of called that though a few weeks back with the minor leaguers not being able to play competitively. So, I think most teams are trying to keep all their chips in for next year for a 162 season. But hell, if the Giants win the whole thing this year, I'm counting it. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, absolutely. And
the Dodgers do. I'm not counting it.
No, dude, I have I have had the same sentiment. If the Giants win, you know what? Hey, they had to battle through this 60-game sprint with the roster that they had, and they pulled it off. Kudos. The Dodgers, they've had the best roster in baseball for going on 5-6 years now, and you win it in this short season. Good for you. If you want to count that, that's great. Well, we don't. Anyway, so and that's our little Dodger hate.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us, guys. We just wanted to keep it short and simple this week. We may do one again this week. If not, we'll see you next week. But any questions or thoughts, whatever, make sure you're interacting with us on Twitter at SayHeyDoug and at SayHeyRob, and make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at SayHeyPodcast for everything there. So For Say Hey Doug and Say Hey Rob, go Giants.
Go Giants. Don't get swept.